Her passion for language and aim in improving the skills of young learners has helped her come against different obstacles and make her an influential academic figure at a young age. Join us today is English teacher Iman Al-Balushi to talk to us more about her role in developing the reading skills of students in the Kingdom of Bahrain.
Hello, my name is Ms. Iman Al-Balushi. I'm an English language teacher at the Ministry of Education, moving towards higher education institution. I am also the founder of iLearn Academy, an initiative to help students learn English better and develop their reading and writing skills. The story behind my research started when I became an English language teacher back in 2014. I started teaching at primary schools, and in every class that I was teaching in, there were about from 3 to 8 students who cannot read in English. And as teachers, we were encouraged to differentiate our instructions, differentiate our methods of teaching, scaffold our learners. And despite everything that we did, those group of students could not start reading in English. And I was curious about how we can help them start reading. So I sat with those students and I got to know their learning needs, and I found out that they lack phonological awareness, and we needed to focus more on that. So I came up with an idea that what if we taught these students over the period, let's say 1 month, these phonics skills, maybe in the summer break, to prepare them to read better for the new academic year. And that's how I came up with this intervention. So when I started my master's degree in applied linguistics at the University of Sheffield, I was guided by my supervisor on developing my intervention with a focus on phonology. And also I had to audit for extra modules in literacy interventions at the Human Communication Sciences at the University of Sheffield. And I also looked at alternatives of the options that students refer to, or the parents of these students turn to help their kids. And I found that from my observation that these students go to special education services in special education institutions in Bahrain. And these services cost about 200 BD per month. And they take a very long time to see a valid result. So that's why I was so determined to develop my intervention, because it only takes 1 month to develop it, and it's less labor intensive, and it can get the students ready to start reading faster than the other special education services. So in my research, we had 3 groups. There were 2 experimental groups and 1 control group. In the 2 experimental groups, we had small groups of 6 to 10 students receiving the phonics intervention, and they were introduced through the principle of alphabetic, and they were taught the segmentation and blending skills. The control group, however, received the special education services normally as they do in special education institutions in Bahrain. We wanted to test the effect of the intervention in comparison to the alternative options that are available. And the reason we had 2 experimental groups delivered by 2 qualified and different teachers, we wanted to test the effect of the intervention regardless of having different teachers. To test the effect of the intervention versus the alternative options of special education services, all students were individually sat for the DIBELS measures, which is a standardized assessment tool, before and after the intervention, to see the effect of the intervention or the special education services in the allocated time period for this research. So the results of the study showed us that all students improved on the DIBELS measures. However, students receiving the synthetic phonic intervention significantly outperformed the students receiving the special education services. We used paired samples t-test statistics to show us the level of effectiveness for each group individually. We used unpaired samples t-test statistics to inform us of the level of effectiveness for the phonic intervention group, regardless of having two different teachers. This shows us that teaching phonics at a primary level is very important, and if we implement this intervention, as soon as possible, we can help students learn and start reading in English to help them catch up with their peers in their school. When thinking about the obstacles I had to overcome to complete this research, the first one was the funding. As a self-funded scholar at the University of Sheffield, I had to work at the University of Sheffield to save up money for my living expenses. Fortunately, the University of Sheffield hired me as the Students' Ambassador representing the Arabic region. And the pay was really good to help me keep up with my expenses, but however, that was very difficult to manage between my studies and my work. But thank God that I managed to balance between these two things. Another obstacle that I encountered during my study was having to look at different modules outside of my degree. So my degree was basically about linguistics and the study of language. When we're talking about creating and designing new interventions, I had to audit for extra modules at the Human Communication Sciences department at the University of Sheffield. And that's required more time invested in the preparation of the study and the design of the intervention itself. A limitation that I am considering for this research was the small sample that we had. Because the time of my research was done over 4 months or less than that, I was able to collect the samples of very small groups of students. It will be interesting to see the effect of this intervention on a bigger scale, and we can see how this intervention helped students read on a bigger group of students on a primary level. Another limitation of this study was the small sample size that I had to use. I'm thinking for an intervention that has this impact, we need to apply it on a bigger scale to see how much we can take these students further by helping them catch up with their peers and helping them start reading in English. So for my future plan, as I move towards higher education institutions, I am hoping to teach at a foundation level. We hear and we see and we observe that students who are like 17 and 18 struggle a lot with being fluent in reading and writing in English. And it's seen in all foundation programs in universities across the world. So I think if I started teaching at a foundation level, and maybe understand the students more, maybe we are going to be able to develop an intervention that could help these students complete this foundation program in less than a year, and it help them take their career and their educational journey further. Another plan for my future was to focus more on sign language and integrating students who are deaf more in society. When I was studying at the University of Sheffield, I studied British Sign Language, and I was licensed to speak it and use it across the world. And when I came back, I found out that deaf students in Bahrain, if not all of them, but a big number of them, cannot read in English and cannot communicate in English. And some of them are still struggling in reading in Arabic as well. So a plan for me is I want to develop an intervention for these students to help them communicate in English using British Sign Language and start reading in English to enrich their experience and to integrate them more in our society, because they are a part of our society at the end of the day. As the founder of the initiative iLearn Academy, I also plan in integrating this intervention on a bigger scale in Bahrain and help as many students as possible in our society. Every year in the summer break, iLearn Academy helps over 100 students to start reading in English, and we help them catch up with their peers to start the new academic year with a fresh start and more optimistic spirits, since they are able to read in English. I think if we started implementing this intervention across the year and across the country, we are going to equip these students with the strongest weapon of reading and writing, and equip them for the essential skills that they need to finish their educational journey. And hopefully, with the help of the government, we will be able to implement it for all students struggling in the primary level.
Iman Ahmed Al-Balushi.
The reason behind this research, it was driven by the motivation to better the educational system in Bahrain and have a bigger impact on the educational system and help students from the primary level and above to be a model example of local citizens of the Kingdom of Bahrain, representing the Bahrain across the world and contributing to the world as a whole.